what is the hard evidence that's triggered this reaction? There are many different statistics in play. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball has been making sense of them.
Stopping this infection means understanding how it's spreading. We're getting huge amounts of data, but it's one figure that looks really worrying that's now making headlines. Leicester has seen 866 positive tests for COVID-19 in just a fortnight. That's 29% of all positive tests in the city since the start of this pandemic. And Leicester now has one of the country's highest positive test rates. The question is, who's been infected and why? And does that rise really mean new infections? Or is there just more testing now, discovering more cases?
It could be down to additional testing, but also it could be down to a pocket of virus transmission occurring in and around the Leicester area associated with some kind of unknown risk. And it's important to understand if that is the case, because you want to try and reduce the amount of virus transmission as quickly as possible, otherwise it can quickly escalate.
Now, until the last few weeks, Leicester seemed to have escaped the worst of this pandemic. But this month, we've seen numbers creeping up in the data from hospitals and care homes. These are the infection rates for staff and patients. You can see that Leicester is very slightly above the national average, but the figure's much higher than in Nottingham and Derby. And that doesn't tell you what's been happening outside those hospitals and care homes. Detailed figures for the wider community haven't been published yet. Officials in Derby, though, have told us their positive tests were in double figures last week.
So we do monitor the figures in Derby, but we haven't seen the increase that they have seen in Leicester over the past few weeks. But I think as it stands as we are, it may only be a matter of time before we see cases like this happening across the country.
One final interesting figure, overall around 1 in every 600 people in this region tested positive for COVID last week. That's a very broad estimate from an official infection survey. It does suggest, though, that the East Midlands now has the country's highest infection rate.